Prepare for battle because America is worth fighting for. This is the Keith Lee Show. Bare-knuckled, no holds barred, and unapologetic. Here's your host, Keith Lee.
And let's do it. Let's do it. You know, every time I say that, I always feel like you want to laugh. I want to laugh too. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Keith Lee Show. You know, you got to say something. You know, every time I say let's do it, it reminds me of Michael Kay. Michael Kay, if you guys are not in New York, he is the play-by-play man for the New York Yankees. And he always says, let's do it in the Bronx. So I guess me being from the Bronx, I like to kind of have that as a little intro, right? It's kind of nice. Hi, producer Jay. Anyway, well, thank you guys for joining us today. It was a long and interesting weekend. You know, I have a lot of thoughts. Just being 2 weeks away from the election. I mean, I can't believe it's 2 weeks away. I mean, like, we are in the middle of November. It feels like the year just literally happened. It came and went. You know, being in this pandemic and COVID-19 and corona. We're about to hit November just like that. And, you know, I had a lot of thoughts this weekend about just where we are as a society. Because, honestly speaking, folks, I'm going to be honest with you. As far as politics are concerned, there's not much to talk about every single day. Let's face it. Okay, like we have the top of the line issues. We have things that we talk about. Oh, Joe Biden is going to hide in the basement until Thursday. You know, the president says things that are truthful about coronavirus and the fact that people shouldn't panic. And of course, the media they fucking bitch over it every day. But that's what we're going to talk about. I mean, we have to do that every single day. I don't believe this election is going to really change much. A lot of people say this is the most important election of our time, and I think it is. But I'm more concerned about just where we are as a society, because there are so many people that believe things that are not true. There are so many things that are just happening, just function. I mean, the perspectives that people have that just boggles the mind. And you have people, especially on the left. Now, we have a few people on the right, and I'll get into that in a second, but you have people on the left that just really believe the most vicious, horrible, nasty things about conservatives. I mean, these are their fellow Americans. Okay, most of us on the right, we look at it as political differences, right? Okay, this person is a leftist, therefore they're effing retards. Okay, fine. Maybe they're misinformed, maybe they're ignorant, whatever it may be. But you have people that are so committed to perpetuating the lie about everything from race to gender to illegal aliens. I mean, Jesus, inequalities in this country. I mean, it really gets tiresome. And I'm really concerned about where we are as a country. What are we going to do, whether the president wins in 2 weeks or not? What are we going to do? Because I have a few stories for you today. I mean, that just really speaks to the point I'm making. Just how we're descending into this chaos. We're a great country. We're a country that's been around only a few hundred years. We have Japan, China. You got some of these places that have been around for thousands of years. We've been able to do in such a short period of time that no other country was able to even dream of. When you think about some of the great empires, Rome and the different Chinese dynasties and the British Empire, you could take all that and combine it into one. And those empires still wouldn't hold a candle to what the United States has been able to accomplish. Through all of its faults, through all of the growing pains, through all of the sins that the United States has committed. There are people today that really believe that this country should not exist. There are people today that really believe that if you don't just fall in line, if you don't just listen to every leftist prognostication, every leftist policy prescription, it's not just a political difference. You are evil. If you disagree with the unlimited insertion of illegal aliens, if you even use the term illegal aliens, then you're a racist. You're a xenophobe. You don't like the browning of America. Now, how the fuck do we get there? We look at Americans. We need to protect Americans. We're going through a pandemic, as we keep being told every single day. Millions of people have lost their jobs. But yet we have Joe Biden and you have other members of the Democrat Party that would rather cater to illegal aliens than to take care of Americans right here at home. The president, rightfully so, says, look, what can we do to stop the flow of these people coming in from Mexico and El Salvador and Guatemala? Why can't these people fix their own countries? Why do they have to come here? Why do we have to be the ones to feed them? Why do we have to be the ones to put clothes on their backs? It's not our problem. It's fucking texting me. You see, what the hell is this? It's funny. You get these things. Actually, it's just a reminder to turn my phone off when I'm doing a show. Hey, JJ, you want to hold this? Anyway, so why do we have to be the ones to take care of these people? It's very expensive. Why can't they fix their own country? And of course, if you even ask that question, that makes you a racist. That makes you a xenophobe. I mean, this is where we're at. You know, we have conversations. For instance, a couple of days ago, Joe Biden is having that what do you call that? I guess it's supposed to be a powwow. It's supposed to be fuck, I'm losing my train of thought on this. It's supposed to be a forum where you have these undecided voters, apparently, quote unquote undecided voters. But then apparently half the voters were working for the Democrat Party. We got one guy asking questions who was a speechwriter for Obama. So one lady gets up there. I'm not going to play the clip because, again, why play the clip? What difference was it going to make? She's asking about transgenders. And she has an 8-year-old daughter who's a transgender. So I'm assuming that she has a son. And then the kid woke up one day and said, I want to put on a dress. And then, you know, her kooky liberal ass said, yeah, let's go down to Gap and find a nice little pink dress for you. So Biden gets up there and says, yeah, we're going to make sure we have protections for our transgender community. Make sure that transgender people can serve in the military. And of course, you say, wait a minute. Well, these people have some serious mental issues. Right? You know, that's what it is. Prior to last week, it was gender dysphoria. If you say anything about gender dysphoria today, then you are transphobic. If we see last week and the Supreme Court hearings for Amy Coney Barrett, if you now use the word sexual preference, which is what everybody has used when it comes to talking about who you want to have sex with, who do you want to fuck. Now, if you say sexual preference, that's not the right way to say it. You're assuming that sexuality can be chosen when in reality it can't be. But then now you start to have this sort of weird logical hoops you have to jump through, because if you can't choose your sexuality, well, how can you choose your gender? And if you were a gay man, but then you decide to change into a woman and you want to be called, instead of Mark, you want to be called Tiffany, but then I don't know how that works. I mean, so are you not gay, or does that make you straight because now you're a woman and now you want to? It's a weird thing. And you see the left try to jump all over these hoops to try to patch up that logical hole. But I think all of that speaks to where we are today as a society. I was having lunch today with producer JJ, and I said to him, you know, I don't think we're living in serious times at all. Just look at the things we talk about every day. See, back in the old days, as you go back to like World War II, there was much more unity in the country. Even if, you know, things were still going on, we had Jim Crow in the South, yada, 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 yada. We were much more together as a country because we're trying to stop the Japanese. We're trying to stop Hitler. We don't have a Hitler anymore. We don't have to worry about surprise attacks at Pearl Harbor. So now we talk about idiotic shit that doesn't make a difference. It's not going to make anybody's lives better. And we're told if we don't fall in line, then we just don't care about our fellow men. But then we look at all of the death and destruction. We look at the poverty. We look at the inequalities that exist in Democrat-run cities. And if we dare challenge the notion that comes out of the left, again, we are science deniers. We are COVID deniers. We are, well, I don't know, we don't like poor people. We don't like women. How far and how long can we continue going down this path? So the question I have is there a way to bridge the gap? Is there a way to have unification in this country? Because listening to the most extreme voices is just not going to do anything. Now, 99% of the most retarded people online are going to be from the left, but we have our retards too. Don't get it twisted. When I see people tweeting dumb shit on Twitter, listen, this whole thing with Hunter Biden is hysterical because, the president got impeached for looking into the corruption with Burisma and the Bidens. Then Adam Schiff went down and, we have this whole fake impeachment. But then here we have actual proof of Hunter Biden being paid by the mayor of Moscow, Hunter Biden being paid $50,000 a month for a job that he had no experience with, had no experience for. Guy goes to Ukraine, doesn't know anything about Ukraine. Guy works at an energy company, has no background in energy. Guy's working in a business, has no business experience whatsoever. He's a lot of experience with crack. If they were selling crack, he'd be the perfect man for the job. But at the end of the day, they're not selling some hot smack over there. They're selling energy. So the media sweeps it under the rug. We're told this is Russian disinformation. You're hearing this from Adam Schiff. You're hearing this from Brian Stelter on CNN, the allegedly straight Brian Stelter on CNN. This is all Russian disinformation. We have an actual hard drive that Hunter Biden dropped off, and it's only a conspiracy theory. Don't take it seriously. These are all unsubstantiated claims. When every single thing we heard about Trump and the connection with Russia were unsubstantiated claims, but we had to sit through 2.5 and 3 years of these lies and distortions and $40 million of taxpayer funds wasted on an investigation that led to nothing. The media wants to sweep this under the rug. So I just say, look, where are we going to go as a country? Where are we going to go? But one of the things I heard from somebody who claims to be a conservative, this guy named Wayne Allen Root. Now, Wayne Allen Root, look, I've heard of the guy, but he doesn't have he has a couple 100,000 people following him. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a big thing in this day and age of influencers and all that. But this idiot says, according to my sources, my sources have actually seen Hunter Biden raping little Chinese prostitutes. If that were true, that'd be very sad. But if you're going to say something like that, you better bring the damn goods. Because at the end of the day, if you're wrong, and I'm pretty sure he's wrong, all that's going to do is open the door for some idiot in the media to say, you see, this is what conservatives believe. And so they'll elevate idiots like Wayne Allen Root and say, he's representative of all conservatives. So we have to weed out the most retarded, idiotic voices in America because that's not going to help anybody. Okay, I will go back and say 99% of the most extreme voices are on the left, but we have to do our job as a country too. We can't open the door because we ain't doing ourselves any favors. If we're going to be promoting dumb shit online, make sure it's factual because we do have the facts on our side. We don't got to take it to the next level and start promoting lies and conspiracy theories. Let the left do that. Because when it comes time to debunking and trying to figure out what's real and what's not real, we don't want to be in the side and say, look at those lies coming from the right. We can't do things like this. But you can tell we're living in unserious times because nothing is serious. The fact that Joe Biden's able to hide in his basement, literally, he called it today. Ever since the news came out from Hunter Biden, he hasn't had to answer any questions about it. Anybody that's even dared to suggest that he answer questions about it, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I'm not going to say anything, and that's it. And the media says, okay, Mr. Biden, that's perfectly fine. Biden is not going to even come out of his basement until Thursday, which is the next debate. Because guess what? The Democrat Party believes the polls. Biden's up by 12 points. Biden's up by 14 points. So Biden is now trying to run out the clock. Well, if his feet's not being held to the fire, then he could easily do that. But I have a couple of stories that I want to share with you today. Just talking about the unserious times we're living in. So here we go. I have a story from the New York Post. And you can look at it and say, it's nothing. It's a small little thing. It's lighthearted. But in reality, it's not lighthearted, though. Because it speaks to where we are as a society. It speaks to the things that we're allowing to permeate our culture every single day. And so we have a story here of a guy. He's an American that's currently based out of Germany, but he goes back and forth. And this guy likes to go to work. Now, the media sets it up as He's a big, burly, 6-foot guy, likes to watch football. He's a family man and all that, but he likes to go to work wearing skirts. I don't see how that works in today's society. But you see, the idea is he needs to virtue signal to show that gender doesn't have to be a thing. Like, if you want to wear a skirt as a man, you can do it. I get to hang out with my daughters and we could pick out pumps together. That's what this guy wants to do. This is the New York Post. Married father of 3. For one dad of 3, getting dressed can be a real drag. Real drag. Mark Bryan, an American robotics engineer, wears towering high heels and skirts every day to prove that clothes have no gender. Bryan has shared his style shots on his now viral Instagram. There in his bio, he explains further, I'm just a straight, happily married guy. He wrote to his 62,000 followers that he loves Porsches, beautiful women, and incorporating high heels and skirts into my daily wardrobe. His daily wardrobe includes red pumps, plaid miniskirts, and seasonally appropriate suede boots, which Bryan paired with a sensible mid-calf beige pencil skirt. Now, for those of you, on YouTube, I have a picture for it. I think you're gonna love this guy. This is fantastic. Look at this. Look at that. Now, you know what's funny? All jokes aside, I mean, chicks will kill to have those legs. I mean, Jesus, his fucking calves are popping out like crazy. Speaking of which, I just realized that I completely botched it. I didn't get into my whole pitch on YouTube and podcast. If you guys are listening to us on the podcast, please be sure to like and subscribe. I don't know why I forget that sometimes. Please be sure to like and subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Be sure to share and like if you guys are interested. Thank you guys for joining us so much. If you want to follow me, you can do so on Twitter at The Real Keith Lee. You can also reach me at thekeithleeshow.com. Thekeithleeshow.com. We have some really exciting news coming up in the next couple of days. Some cool projects we're working on. Some new videos for YouTube that are going to really be spectacular. And it kind of goes into just what I want to do with this show. Because I don't want to do a show that's just a typical political show that comes on every day. It's nice. But I appreciate the time you're spending with me. I really do, because our time is precious. Okay, you could be doing anything right now rather than listening to me. I thank you so much for listening to me, because time is precious. You got to feed your family. You got to work. You got to do what you got to do. But I'm also one that believes that you don't need to hear the same thing 10 times from every different podcaster or talk show host. So we're going to talk about the politics. I would say maybe 70% of the show will be about politics. But I think we should also talk about the other things that really make a difference in our lives. Okay? Politics is above all. It's on everything. But we got to talk about how we need to live our lives. What we need to do in our country to make our country better. To really recapture the idea of what it means to be a great American. What it means to be patriotic. To really take back the culture from the left. That's what I want to do. Because I can give you the articles. I can give you what the left is talking about. And you're going to get that every single day. But at the same time, you know what? We also could talk about what it means to raise families. We could also talk about, just the day-to-days. I'm a young millennial man myself. So I deal with the same nonsense that anybody else who might be in my age group has to deal with. When you're talking about relationships and finances and this entire world we have to live in right now, dealing with the attacks that we get from the left every single day. So we're gonna kind of shift the show into that sort of direction. We're gonna get the politics, but we're also gonna get the things that are really gonna affect us every single day. Because again, I want to give you the best content possible. I really do, and I don't think I'm doing you a service. I don't think I'm really justifying your time just saying the same shit that everybody else is saying. You can get that anywhere. We know what we all believe. But at least you can come here and learn something that's actionable, something that you could actually take with you in your life every single day. And I think that this platform should be used for that. Because I'm very confident, okay, I have my concerns. I'm very confident that the president's going to win. But again, I've always said this on this show. Whether he wins or whether he doesn't win, we need to figure out how we need to move. We need to figure out how we move forward as a country. When we have a whole half of the country that believes we are evil. And it's not our fault, okay? The left lies to these people, the media lies to these people, and people believe lies. What can you say? The lie is more easy to digest than the truth. If you're black, it's so much easier to accept this whole notion that the country is racist and horrible and systemic racism is holding you back. I've heard it for years when I was growing up in the hood. When I was in the Bronx, you wouldn't believe the things you hear. All kinds of fucking excuses about why Pookie went to jail. All kinds of excuses why people are broken on welfare and shit. But you know what's funny? But then nobody ever questions, okay, how are they on welfare? How are they supposedly broke? But, back in the day when I was a kid, everybody wanted to get an Escalade, and you throw on the biggest fucking rims you could find. 24-inch, 25-inch, 30 inches. Now people like to drive in Jaguars and Audis. But they live in the hood. They live in the hood. And when you tell people, look, if you want to have a better life, how about you finish school? And even if you don't finish school, go learn something, learn a trade. Figure out how to do something. Maybe don't have kids before you get married. And if you're a father, maybe you stay in your kid's life. I have a wonderful story coming up about what happens when a black father stays in the house with his kids. It's a fantastic story. I'll get to that in a few minutes. But no matter how many times you can try to preach to these people, look, your life can be better. You can have anything you want in this world because you live in the United States of America. All you have to do is work hard and stay out of trouble. That's two easy things to do. Every other group of people in this country are able to do it. But for some strange reason, the Democrats will say blacks are not expected to follow the same rules as everybody else. My God, what do you mean I can't break the law? What do you mean? It's like, and you have people like de Blasio who reward this nonsense. And you can come to the city. I'm like, if I was a criminal, man, fuck, man. If I was a criminal, man, it'd be open season. And it is open season. If you can walk into the city today, I don't got to buy a Metro card. If you want to hop on the train, and just hop the turnstile. Well, what's going to happen? I'm not going to get arrested, right? Well, if a cop is there, which is probably not going to be the case at the turnstile, I might get a fine. And as soon as I get that fine, what's going to happen? I can just throw it right down the tracks. Who gives a shit? Nobody's going to come after me. Oh, I gave you guys a story last week where people are roving, and the roving mobs are heading down to Soho and knocking off Balenciaga and Celine. Nobody's going to do anything about that because, as we were told from AOC, these poor black folks need to rob Balenciaga and Celine to be able to put food on the table. So, of course, I'm the bad guy. I'm a coon. I'm an Uncle Tom. I'm a house nigga. I'm an Oreo and an eggplant because I want to see black people do well for themselves. See, we can't have that conversation. Can't have that conversation because, the systemic racism. Yes, all day. The systemic racism is holding black people back. You can't teach black people math because math is racist. You can't tell black people to read books because, books are just, English is just too culturally biased. No, you can't put a sentence together. Listen, don't tell a black person to pull his pants up. That's racist. You can't do that. You can't do that. And then we look into the future and black people are not doing anything, making up 50% of the prison population. Millions of black babies have been aborted. Death and destruction on the government dole. The gaps between blacks and every other group continue to explode, open and open and open. Well, how do we expect blacks to do better if we have to listen to what the left is saying? This country's just too racist. Blacks are not expected to do anything. The Democrats have completely decimated the black family. And now the Democrats are doing the same thing for every other group. Why not? It works so beautifully for them. Why not? Let's try it on the Hispanics. Let's try it on women. Let's try it on gays. Let's do it. Is it a wonder why people on the left despise Republicans? If you're in an environment like here in New York, your coworkers are all liberal. The people you live next to are all liberal. When you're on Facebook, you follow all these liberal pundits and celebrities. You're hearing the same message over and over and over again. This is the reason why they think Republicans are evil, because they don't know what Republicans actually believe. The point I'm getting at is we need to do a better job to get that message out. We can't just rely on President Trump to do it for us. It has to be more than that. You know, one of the things that really strikes me, so in my professional life, we have to do a lot of things regarding SEO, search engine optimization. And, you know, if you want your website to be discovered on Google, if you have a YouTube page, or maybe you're in the process of bringing a building to market. So in New York, we have a lot of new development. You know, a developer develops a building. You have to sell all these units. So you need to be able to get the word out about these apartments. They're not going to just sell themselves. So you have to do a lot of search engine optimization. And in doing that, you could see what your competitors are also doing to see how they're marketing their properties and how much money potentially they're spending to market their properties. And so in the last couple of days, I got a chance to look at some of the search engine optimization, some of the facts of what you get from the typical media, the liberal media, compared to what you're seeing in some of the conservative media. And I've been blown away by this, because you have conservatives that just don't have a clue. You see, instead of spending time on Twitter all day trolling the libs, we need to spend more time building conservative media. If you look at the size of regular liberal media compared to conservative media, it's like 30-1. It's 30-1. And there's no way in the world we're going to be able to take back the culture if we're not learning the ways that we can actually reach through to people. We're not going to be able to do it hanging out on Twitter. We're not going to be able to do it just hanging out with other conservatives. We need to get out there and get belly to belly with people and teach them what conservative principles are all about, to teach them how America became great, to teach them why America was able to become the most powerful and prosperous country the globe has ever seen. You have people that just don't know this message because we're not doing our jobs. So we can't focus our entire intention about what's going to happen in 2 weeks, because what happens in 2 weeks really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Think about this logically for a second. If Trump wins, and we hope he does, do you think all is going to be right with the world? I mean, get fucking serious about this for a second. Do you think all is going to be right with the world? If you saw everything that happened over the last 4 years, okay, and now here we are again. Oh, the president's losing badly in the polls. The president's never going to leave the White House. The president's going to mobilize the military to make sure he stays there, and then he's going to take over the country. He's a dictator. Oh my God, he's a fascist. The left really believes those things. You and I might laugh and say, okay, come on, that's ridiculous. These people are off the fucking rockers. The left really believes this stuff. Do you think if the president wins, there's going to be peace? There ain't going to be no peace. In fact, a lot of people believe this. Here in New York, and the New York Post had a fantastic article about this. The headline is, "Fearful New Yorkers Plan to Flee the City on Election Day." Some people want to get out to vote. Others just want to get the hell out. New Yorkers are on the edge after a leaked NYPD memo obtained by the Post revealed this week that police are preparing for protests to begin as early as October 25th and grow in intensity throughout the next year. The department decreed officers should be prepared for deployment, adding, "This November 3rd will be one of the most highly contested presidential elections in modern history. There is also a strong likelihood that the winner of the presidential election may not be decided for several weeks. It's enough to make some residents run for the hills." Paulo Way, a 25-year-old Columbia student who lives in a luxury building in the Upper West Side, is headed to his family. Oh, so typical New Yorker. Got this like little Chinese kid, a 25-year-old Chinese kid. He goes into Columbia and he lives in a dormant building. He's going to be able to head out to his family's farm, his 60-acre farm in Port Jervis, which is 2 hours north of the city. "I felt trapped in the apartment. The protests were overwhelming," said Way, noting that crowds often gathered on the West Side Highway near his home. "It could happen again. I don't want to be here to get caught up in that. No matter who wins, someone is going to get upset." He plans to continue his studies in computer science and run his farm-to-table meal delivery service, which, interesting. Again, very New York, by the way. You get these, it's funny. You get these like white people, right? These white liberals. Now, this guy's Chinese, obviously, but we get these white liberals that come to the city, right? They come from Ohio. They come from nice places. You got beautiful fresh air. You got beautiful vegetables. Things are they're just much better that way. And so they come to the concrete jungle, and the next thing you know, They're pissed off because they can't get all the nice fruits and vegetables they got from back home. So now, So now we have to have the farmers market. And these farmers markets are the most like potential Libby bullshit. So there's a type of place on 14th Street in Union Square. They have these farmers markets, and you can go there. You want to buy a head of cabbage? A head of cabbage is like $3 in the supermarket. You could literally be paying like $12 for a piece of cabbage. And by the way, it's like a quarter the size of the real cabbage. Oh, because it's organic and it's farm to table. So it's hysterical. So anyway, you get this guy. So Flatiron resident Andrea, who's 31, she didn't want to give her last name. Oh, I wonder why. She's going to pack up before November 3rd. I went to my parents in New Jersey for about 2 weeks when the Black Lives Matter protests got bad and the looting started. So I definitely want to get out of here the week before the election, said the public relations specialist. This is why she didn't give her last name. A Republican who asked not for her last name not to be used. I'm thinking if Trump wins, it's going to be a disaster. The city will be on fire. People are going to go nuts. She and 2 girlfriends are heading to Tulum in Mexico from October 25th to November 8th. I think I'll avoid a lot of it, he said. And some New Yorkers who fled because of lockdowns have no plan to return until after the election. Onea Tren, 42, an artist from Hell's Kitchen, has been staying at her family's Fire Island home since mid-July. Jesus. The Trump supporter who is mailing in her ballot plans to open up her doors to others looking to escape. I told my friends that whoever wanted to get out of the city was welcome here. One friend who lives in Washington Heights is going to vote in the morning on October 3rd and come straight to the beach. My mother thinks that whether Trump wins or loses, protesters will try to burn down Trump Tower. And it's not just New Yorkers in flight or flight mode. Casey, a Los Angeles-based graphic designer who declined to give her last name, has rented a cabin in Big Bear, California during the week of the election. I don't want to be anywhere near West Hollywood where I live, the Biden voter 37 said. I think everyone's lost their damn minds. She invited 5 friends to join her for board games and dips in the hot tub and no contact with the rest of the world. Exactly. Now, it's funny. She's a Biden supporter, but the fact is, yes, if the president wins, we know what's going to happen. But the media, if you listen to the media, and I saw a bunch of this over the weekend, suggesting that, well, if the president loses, that it's going to be us that's going to go out there protesting and rioting and causing strife and burning down cities. That's BS. But yet, that's what the media is saying, because it's another lie that they're able to get away with, and nobody's going to challenge them. So I really have some strong concerns about where we go as a society. Because I don't think, even if the president gets reelected, I just don't believe things are going to get better. And it's not his fault, and it's not our fault. These people have been unhinged for years. This Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing. There's no cure for it. All right, these people, just the sheer notion that that anybody can vote for Trump is completely beyond the left. If you think things have been bad these last couple of years, you got to wait and see what's going to happen if the president is indeed reelected. And that's to send further into the madness, into the madness a bit. So a little, as we, talking about Portland, by the way, we keep hearing about, Antifa is just a thought, right? And Antifa is really they're trying to fight the fascists. They're trying to fight for equality. But they wanted to fight it right. And they decided to knock out the 2 front teeth of a black counter-protester who happens to love America. Take a look at this video. It's really disturbing.
Get out! Get out! Get out! What's up? What's up, my nigga? Yeah, nigga, that's on me, nigga. That's on me, nigga.
Hey, look at this.
Get going. Get going.
It's something kind of, it's strange to me. If you're not seeing the video, you're listening to this on the podcast. So this black guy, who happens to be a Trump supporter, by the way, he is surrounded by everybody that's surrounding him. All these Antifa members are white. It's very interesting how all these white people feel emboldened to call this black guy a nigga. That's very strange. Very strange. And it's something that I've heard a lot, over the years. It's amazing how the left claims they're fighting racism, But when they encounter a black conservative, they use racial epithets like nigga. And it wasn't enough that he was counter-protesting and leaving, by the way. Somebody felt it was in their right to knock the hell out of this guy. Now, can you please show me similar videos of conservatives roving throughout the country, knocking the front teeth out of idiots like Antifa? Please show that to me, because I don't see that.
Get out! Get out! Get out! What's up? What's up?
Look at this, disgusting.
Yeah, nigga, that's on me, nigga. That's on me, nigga. What's up?
Leave, nigga.
Nigga, get going.
Get out of here, nigga.
Get going. Yo, bitch, get going. Get going. Get going. Get out of here, nigga.
These are the peaceful protests that we keep hearing about.
Get going.
Oh, what's sad is you have the police right there. The police are right next to the guy, and they're doing nothing. Exactly, folks. But the left is concerned about what we're doing. That's where we are, folks. That's where we are. Let's move on. Let's move on. I think, since it's Monday and all, and my favorite day of the week, it's time for a crime update. Here we go. Run for your lives! Yes, folks, it's time for a time. You know what's funny? Speaking of crime updates, I can't believe it. It was actually a relatively safe weekend in Chicago. So it wasn't 70 people that got shot. Only 30 people got shot this weekend. Isn't that nice? And 8 of them died. So we're improving a little bit. Yeah, 30 people here, 30 people there. What difference does it make? And oh, right here in New York, I mean, you just got to love this. A little granny was shoved onto the subway tracks during a fight on a New York City platform. A brute shoved a 73-year-old grandma onto the subway tracks during a fight on a Brooklyn platform, police said on Monday. The encounter unfolded at 1:45 p.m. on the C train's Clinton, Washington stop, where an unknown man got into a fight with the elderly woman's husband and grandson. The attacker punched and kicked the two men after the younger man asked the assailant to stop smoking on the platform and eventually shoved the 73-year-old granny onto the tracks. Thankfully, she was not hit by the train and was expected to make a full recovery. Jesus Christ, man. But there's no crime here in New York. De Blasio's New York is a perfect place to be. You gotta love it. It's the best thing ever. The best thing ever. Now, I mentioned earlier in the program about the remarkable things that can happen when black fathers stay in the home. I came across this article, and I was really blown away. There's this 12-year-old kid, a black kid, who is going to attend Georgia Tech at 12 years old. And it just blew me away. And I said, I knew even before I saw the video, I can tell, I said, you know what, bro? I was talking to producer JJ. I was like, I bet you the father's in the house. Because almost in every circumstance, look, I'm a kid from a single family home. I'm doing okay. But whenever you see stories like this, 99 times out of 100, the kid has both parents in the home. Because you know what? As much as, listen, we're gonna start getting to some deeper topics in a second, all right? Women, I know we're in this world where people think women can do everything. But there is a big difference between men and women. Biologically speaking, you want to talk about the science? You got to listen to the science, listen to the experts. Well, there is a big difference between a mother and a father. A mother cannot be a father to a son. It just ain't going to happen. Okay? My mother did the best she knew how, but guess what? I still had to figure out a shit ton on my own. Okay? Let me tell you, growing up in a household where you don't have a father creates a lot of challenges. Okay? Especially when you become an adult. I mean, you're at home, you got to follow the rules at home and you kind of deal with whatever the mother, the grandmother sets up in the house. That's fine. But it does not prepare you for what happens in the real world. You don't know what it's like to be a man. You have to grow through growing pains. I'm pretty sure as our show unfolds over the coming months and years, you'll hear a lot more about some of the growing pains coming in the future. But I was completely blown away by this kid. He's really smart, really talented. And it really, again, it shows you what could happen if you have both parents in the home. Check out this cool story.
This morning, you're going to meet the real deal, and we're going to put him on television. That's Caleb Anderson. He's a kid genius who is not yet a teenager, but is already cruising through college courses and is set to go to a very prestigious university. As Mark Strassman shows us, before he could even walk, Caleb could astound people around him.
Which smart kids apply every year to Georgia Tech, but no one like Caleb Anderson. He's 12.
I'm not really smart. I just grasp information quickly. So if I learn quicker, then I can get ahead faster.
This elite engineering school fell over itself recruiting him.
Plug it in here.
Caleb saw the labs. He met the school's president.
I have heard so much about you. Welcome to Georgia Tech.
He's a perfect candidate to come into our program and be very successful.
Is his admission guaranteed?
I would expect that he would be admitted for sure.
Admitted to study aerospace engineering. Claire and Kobe Anderson, Caleb's parents.
What's it like to be touring a college when your kid is 12?
I don't think anything that Caleb's done has been normal for us.
By age 1, he was reading.
Look at this. Fun.
At 2, he knew sign language and how to do fractions.
1, 2, 3.
I have this distinct memory of going to the first grade class and learning there. Everyone was way taller than me because, I was 2. I could barely walk.
Middle school was awful. It always is.
The kids there, they kind of looked down on me, or they treated me like I was an anomaly, and which I kind of am.
He's taken college courses for a year. His parents now want a university that's the right fit for a tween genius.
We want him to be in an environment where he's accepted and not tolerated.
If he comes to Georgia Tech, he's not rushing fraternity.
No.
No. Not at all. We're definitely protecting him.
Make sure that when he is an adult, that he'll make a great husband or great father, a great friend one day.
Lots of people think they're the smartest person in the room. Caleb really is.
Did it ever occur to you, you know what, I'm looking at college and I'm 12 years old.
This is my life. This is how I am, and I've been living this way my whole life.
He accepts that he's different, definitely smart.
What is it?
For CBS This Morning, Mark Strassman, Atlanta.
Wow. I mean, what an amazing story. But it goes to show you, folks, I mean, there's nothing holding us back. There's nothing holding blacks back. If you're black and listening to this show, just got to do the work. If you want to have success in this country, just do the damn work. Stop expecting the handouts. Stop expecting the government to come in and save the day. Stop expecting that everything's going to be easy if you decide to make the wrong choices. Everything's entirely up to you. When the left talks about systemic racism, can you please show me the laws that exist today on the books that is purposely designed to keep black people back, to hold black people back? There's no credibility to that story. When you have Oprah talking about a racial caste system in this country, who's a billionaire. Oprah is a billionaire. Let's go take a look at it. Let's see how many billions. Let's see. Oprah Winfrey net worth. That's always nice to see. Jesus Christ. Oprah Winfrey is worth $2.5 billion. Now, if you're listening to the show, do you got $2.5 billion? How many white people in this country have $2.5 billion? I can tell you 99.99% do not. So what does Oprah have to gain other than fawning media coverage when she's claiming that this systemic racism is keeping black people back? It didn't keep her back. It hasn't kept Jay-Z and Beyonce back. It hasn't kept that other loudmouth LeBron James back. They've been living fabulous lives. We look at black liberals on MSNBC like Joy Reid. She's a millionaire doing fantastically well for herself. The other douchebag on CNN, Don Lemon, another millionaire doing fabulously well for himself. He's living fabulously. I bet oh yes, Brian. But these people never quit. So look at the contrast. Look at the contrast, for instance. You have parents that are supporting their kid, that are not trying to hold them back. They're not believing the lies that are told by the left, that their little kid, they have to sit down and have to talk with their little kid. Oh, if you walk around the streets, be careful of the cops. No, don't be afraid of Pookie with the gun. Be careful of the cops. Don't be afraid of the cops because you may not come home. They're not ruining this kid's life with that garbage, or else he wouldn't be able to go to Georgia Tech. But look at this other story. This is also in the New York Post. State enforced racial segregation by progressive. This is a fantastic piece written by Christopher Rufo. It sounds like Rufio from Captain Hook. State-sanctioned racial segregation. Now, listen, look at the destruction that happens to the people who perpetrate and believe the lies. State-sanctioned racial segregation ended with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, but has recently returned in an unlikely place: government agencies in Seattle. According to new whistleblower documents I've reviewed, at least 3 public agencies in the region have implemented race-segregated diversity trainings. At the King County Library System, a private consulting firm called Racial Equity Consultants. If you're at your job and you hear something like this coming to your job, run. Racial Equity Consultants. All it is. It's a bunch of idiots, a bunch of leftist morons, and they're going to corral you into a room, right? The black people don't got to attend this. But if you're a lily white, you're going to sit down and talk about, oh my God, you're racist, you're horrible, you got privilege, you got all this access to the world, you never have to worry about anything. It's just a bunch of crap. People lying to you all day. Bunch of nonsense. That's the Race Equity Consultants. Apparently, there is widespread institutional racism in the libraries. Even the libraries are not safe. And employees who reject that premise, as I told you earlier, if you reject that premise, you are accused of internalized racism. When reached by email, the firm said it wasn't authorized to comment. So remember, if you challenge the leftist orthodoxy, you are a racist. At the Federal Veterans Administration Puget Sound facility, the local leadership has launched a series of racially segregated caucuses for individuals who identify as white. So you know what you should do, right? If you want to get out of these things, just say, well, look, identity is malleable, right? So just say you're black. Pull a Rachel Dolezal, right? Pull a Sean King. I'm black. Yeah, don't know. No. Well, remember the 1-drop rule, right? Remember, right? The 1-drop rule. The white supremacists used to say, if you have 1 drop of black blood, you are black. Black people, they also take on that identity as well. According to the whistleblower emails, the organizer, Dr. Jesse Markman, convened the racially segregated sessions, calling them an environment for sharing and discussion, which is not afforded by mixed groups. Finally, at the King County Prosecutor's Office, the Chief Prosecutor, Dan Satterberg, and senior staff have recently required employees to sign an equity and social justice pledge and assign continued training for white employees who must do the work, quote unquote, and to, quote, learn the true history of racism in our country. I mean, this is just bizarre shit, man. This is bizarre shit. I just don't understand logically. How do we fight racism by being racist? There's no way the left can even work their way around this logically. It makes no sense at all. Every single prescription we hear coming from the whack jobs on the left, you want to end racism, you know what you do? You separate the white people and you complain and bitch and moan and say because you don't have any melanin in your skin, that makes you a racist. White employees are encouraged to participate in racially segregated anti-racist action groups, as well as agency-wide cultural competency training that teaches them how to adopt a new non-oppressive, non-exploitive attitude. Only in the whack job minds of the left can you come up with these phrases. According to a leaked memo I've reviewed, Sederberg recently wrote a letter to staff suggesting that the quote-unquote privileged white male cohort in his office should shut up and listen. The prosecutor's office confirmed the authenticity of the equity pledge and staff-wide memo, but didn't offer further comment. Oh, the irony. Seattle's white elites are instituting a policy of racial segregation in the name of social justice. In all 3 of these institutions, white executives have explicitly implemented these policies, arguing, in one case, that holding segregated training sessions mitigates, quote, any potential harming of staff of color that might arise from across real racial conversations. The VA's Dr. Markman explained to his colleagues, it can be challenging for people of color to feel a burden to educate others on how to behave better. when at the same time being told or expected to be entirely open and unfiltered. The assumption behind these policies that white leaders must shield minority employees from open dialogue is deeply patronizing and can itself cause racial division in the workplace. Absolutely. According to multiple sources within Kings County government, segregated training sessions have created suspicion and distrust among colleagues. I was truly disgusted, said one library employee. Trainers told white employees, "We stole the land from indigenous people and we are responsible for committing genocide." All white people. All white people. Doesn't matter if you are, a first generation American from Albania. Doesn't matter if, like your family was in Sweden up until last week. You are still responsible for the endemic and systemic racism that exists in this country, and you must pay. Seattle, home to leading critical race theorists like Robin DiAngelo, has long been on the vanguard of race-based progressivism. These crackpot concepts have escaped the academy and been entrenched in bureaucracies. Federal officials would be wise to put a stop to them before segregation is once more normalized. If you tell a group of people that they're responsible for all of the ills that black people supposedly experience every single day, how is that not going to cause racial animosity? If you see what's happening to this country, if you see the same group of people committing the same crimes over and over again, but you're told, no, don't look at that. No. Don't believe your lying eyes, you racist. I don't think that's going to make you like black people anymore. I'm not saying you're racist, but you're certainly not going to go out of your way to kiss somebody's ass when it's not going to be enough. It's never going to be enough because these people don't want to bridge the gap. These people do not want to have equity. They don't want to heal the quote unquote divisions. The left wants power. And if they can scare the majority group in this country into submission, so be it. Because if you submit to their causes, if you submit to their lies, they have won and they will be able to maintain their power. Because what? Nobody wants to be called a racist. Nobody wants to be called a bigot. Nobody wants to have their shit put on blast because they made a mistake of not being PC. How many stories have you and I heard about people being fired from their jobs, having their personal information spread all over the internet because of quote unquote microaggressions? The left wants to do that because the left wants to change the behavior of society to suit their whims. This is why we see this shaping. We talked about this last week. We see this shaping of phraseologies and terms. If you can change the definition of things, if you can get people to not believe their eyes, then the left wins. We mentioned the situation with abortion last week. You can't call it abortion because abortion is still a very bad word. People don't like it. They don't want to think about little babies being murdered. So we can just call it reproductive health. Yeah, it's very clever. Very clever. You want to get rid of the cops. You want to defund the police, disband the police. Well, that doesn't play well with the focus groups. The soccer moms don't like that. So why do we call this? Why don't we call it police reform? Yes, reform. Whenever the left wants to get away with these lies, all you got to do is call it reform. Wrap it up into something that just sounds so mundane. It's nothing. It's just reform. Reforms are meant to make things better. Until we get the bill for this reformation. The bill of lost lives. The bill of buildings being burned to the ground. Of neighborhoods being made less safe. Which, by the way, will affect black people the most. This is the future of our country if we don't do what we need to do to stop the left. And what makes things worse is the media. The media is listening to every single prescription coming out of Antifa and Black Lives Matter. And the media is falling all over themselves to prove to the world that they're not racist, to prove themselves to the world, to prove to the world that they're willing to commit to whatever the whims of the left, that we are committed allies. We want to end racism. We want to promote people that have questionable backgrounds, but hey, nobody could ever accuse us of being racist. Here's a story today. We can keep going on and on and on about this in the Daily Wire. Oh, yes, trained Marxist. Trained Marxist Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors inks a deal with Warner Brothers for new TV specials. See, it's like, damn. It's like every time we do one of these episodes, we have more death and destruction coming, and the media says nothing. They want to promote these people. They want to give them money. The self-proclaimed trained Marxist co-founder of Black Lives Matter signed a deal with Warner Brothers Television Group, which intends to elevate Black voices on television and promulgate the agenda for our organization. Patrisse Cullors, who co-founded Black Lives Matter in 2013 with community organizers Alicia Garza and Opal Tomet, inked the multi-year agreement in what is her first deal with the Hollywood studio, her first deal. Building on her political activism, the Los Angeles native plans to work with the studio to develop scripted dramas and comedies, docuseries, and animated programming for children. Yes, it's always for the children. Because if you can indoctrinate these little bastards in the beginning, then guess what? Then now we'll have new warriors in the fight against oppression. Black voices, especially Black female voices, have been historically marginalized. And they are important to and integral to today's storytelling, Cullors said. Our perspective and amplification is necessary and vital to helping shape a new narrative for our families and communities. As a longtime community organizer and social justice activist, I believe that my work behind the camera will be an extension of the work I've been doing for the last 20 years. And I look forward to amplifying talent and voices of other Black creatives through my work. See? So if you want to destroy the country, if you want to promote fake racial crimes and hoaxes and denigrate white people, you are then rewarded with multi-million-dollar TV deals from Warner Brothers. Good to know for the future, by the way. Good to know for the future. Oh, also, folks, we have another update today. I mean, this is a great day. We had a crime update, and now we have an update for Dr. Fauci. Yes. Yes, the great Dr. Fauci. Unfortunately, Dr. Fauci is having a bad day today as the president has decided to do away with the partisan expert of all things coronavirus. The president had some wonderful words to say about the great Dr. Fauci, and it is hysterical. I mean, this is why we elected this guy, folks. It's hysterical. So listen to this soundbite from the president. It makes me crack up. So listen, the president's done. The president, you know, it's so funny. Ever since he recovered from the Rona, and 3 days, by the way, Jesus, I mean, what a warrior. 3 days. Everybody else, oh my God, the president's going to die. He's 74 years old. He's a big fat fuck. But he survived, and he's feeling like he's 20 years younger. And so now, because he knows, look, this is do or die, this election. All the restraints are off from this man. Listen to what he had to say about Dr. Fauci.
People are tired of COVID. I have the biggest rallies I've ever had, and we have COVID. People are saying, whatever, just leave us alone. They're tired of it. People are tired of hearing Fauci and all these idiots. These people that have gotten it wrong. Fauci's a nice guy. He's been here for 500 years. He's a disaster. I mean, this guy's, if I listened to him, we'd have 500,000 deaths.
That's right.
People are tired of COVID.
That's good stuff. Fauci's been here for 500 years. But he's right. I mean, people are tired of it. You know, and in the media, they listen to that clip, right? And they think they have something here, by the way. The media, that clip took place, that conversation the president was having was with his campaign staff. They invited the media, so this wasn't like a leaked video. This wasn't like something that the media, oh my God, look what the president's saying behind the scenes. No. The president knew the media was online with this phone call, and he's had enough. Because the fact is, folks, I mean, we have the data. Okay, look, I'll start off. I'll get the disclaimer. You gotta give these disclaimers before they try taking off your show from YouTube. I'm not downplaying the severity of coronavirus for some people. There are some people, unfortunately, if you have comorbidities, if you're, over the age of 74 and you have diabetes and you got, heart issues and asthma and a bunch of other stuff, unfortunately, the death rate can be higher. But even still, if you were to look at the fatality rate for people in that age group, it's still reasonably low, not to diminish the deaths. But when it comes to everybody else, the likelihood of dying from the coronavirus is decreasing every single day. The media tries to do is this. They take the case fatality rate. The case fatality rate is you look at the confirmed cases of coronavirus. Okay, you went to the doctor, you weren't feeling well, you got a cough, you got a fever, they give you a test, you're confirmed, you have the virus. They take that number, and then obviously you look at the denominator of people who passed away, and then they've come up with this case fatality rate. That was a number that was used to push the lockdowns. 1% of the people getting the coronavirus are dying. 3% of the people getting the coronavirus are dying. And obviously, if most of the population gets the coronavirus, you could potentially be talking about millions of people dying. That's the game the media plays. What you need to look at is the likely number of people who have had the coronavirus. And now the CDC is using this number. The World Health Organization is using this number. If you look at it and you say, well, wait a minute. If 10% of the globe, they're predicting, or they're hypothesizing that 10% of the globe has contracted the coronavirus. You're talking about over 700 million people. And when you look at the number of people who have unfortunately died from the coronavirus, that puts the death rate at 0.01%, which is roughly in line with a really bad flu season. So if you decide to talk about this virus with a sense of balance, with a sense of proportionality, you are a COVID denier. You want to kill grandma. You're not listening to the scientists. You're not listening to the experts, or at least the chosen scientists and the chosen experts. Every time we get a report from, credible sources, like the New England Journal of Medicine, or we had that decree from last week from tens of thousands of medical experts saying that lockdown's not the best way to stop the virus, that maybe masks are not even that useful in preventing the spread of coronavirus, those voices get completely silenced. So the president has continued his rallies. They're outside, open air, lots of people wearing masks. That's the president still not taking it seriously, even after contracting the virus. But did you hear the media this weekend saying anything about the Women's March with the pussy hats on the Mall of America, okay, and the Capitol? All these women are out there, 50,000 people standing shoulder to shoulder. You heard nothing about that potentially being a super spreader event. So the president's had enough. We can't be living in fear. We can't live like Joe Biden hiding in our basement until there's a vaccine. We don't know when a vaccine's going to come. Maybe it's soon. Maybe the president's right. Hopefully it is in the next couple of months. But realistically speaking, we just don't know when that's going to happen. Now, the president's had enough. And I think most of us have to. Before we go, we have a few more clips. So now, yes, Joe Biden wants to increase our taxes. We all know this. Well, how are you going to pay for the illegal aliens to have health care? How are you going to pay for, food stamps and free housing and whatever else on the Green New Deal? How are you going to pay for that? Well, Joe Biden says, well, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We're going to pay for it by raising taxes on the rich. But if you live in New York like I do, and that's coming to an end soon, finally we're getting the hell out of here. If you live in New York like I do, or if you live in California, wait till you hear what you're going to be paying in taxes if Joe Biden becomes our president. Check this out.
People earning over $400,000 a year would pay combined federal and state income taxes of over 62%. Robert Frank is adding up all the increases and joins us with what it means for high earners in certain states. Was that a misprint? What did I just say? I was just reading. 62%, Robert?
Yeah, Joe, let's look at that numbers. Now, there were some nonpartisan studies out last week showing that Biden's tax plan would indeed only raise taxes on those making $400,000 or more and cut taxes on virtually everyone else. But as you mentioned, top earners in high tax states could face combined state and local rates of over 62%. So let's break that number down. Now, on the income side, on the federal side, there are two basic increases that Biden is proposing. The first is a top rate going from 37 to 39.6%. And then you've got the payroll tax of 12.4% applying to income over $400,000. So half of that payroll tax is paid by employers. So you add those two changes together and you get a new top federal rate of 45.8%. Then you add the net investment income tax and other provisions, and you get a total top rate of 49.6%. So let's go to the state side on top of that.
Here it comes.
If you live in California, that combined rate would go to 62.6%. New Jersey.
Oh, my God. If you live in California, 62.6% of your income will be out the door to pay for taxes. 62%. Hey, oh wait, it's the same thing with New Jersey and New York City, folks. This is serious. And you know what's so funny? Every time somebody asks a serious question about what Joe Biden's economic plan is going to look like, and we're talking about these tax increases, oh, it's okay. It's only going to be on those making $400,000. What difference? Oh, we'll be fine. Yeah. Joe's going to lower taxes for the middle class. Oh, yeah. Well, I asked a question. If you're living in New York or if you're living in California, are you going to fucking pay 62% of your income in taxes? Legitimately. Are you going to pay that much money in taxes? If you are, what the hell are you smoking? Right? Because there's a reason. There's a reason so many people in that income bracket are fleeing. They're leaving New York. They're leaving Connecticut, New Jersey, and California in droves. And I wonder where they're going. Oh, yeah. You know, those southern hick states, right? Yeah, like Florida and Georgia and Texas. It's no wonder why all of the job growth that we've seen, the record job growth that we've seen coming out of the coronavirus, is happening in these states. People, if you really believe that you're not going to be affected from all of these high-income people leaving your state, then you are smoking some of the best weed on the planet. Because if they leave, who's going to pay for all of the left's pet projects? Who's going to pay for it? If those people bounce, and mind you, the left likes to say, when are the rich going to pay their fair share in taxes? Well, folks, the top 30% of wage earners pays 97% of the taxes. Who's going to be left to pay when all of the rich people leave? I wonder who. That's it for today. Thanks for joining us. If you like what you've heard and you're listening to us on the podcast, please be sure to like and subscribe. Please do the same thing for YouTube. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure, and we will see you on Wednesday. Take care.